You never know when, where, or how you're going to have to spring into action in a time of need, and doctors are some of the first people on the front lines. Jenny Suiters is a nephrologist at WVU Medicine's Wheeling Clinic, and her husband Dan Suiters is a hospitalist at Reynolds Memorial Hospital. They recently learned that a doctor's job is never done and use their skills for good. Was meant to be a time off duty for two local doctors quickly took a turn just days into their getaway.
I'll never forget it. I saw this mom whip around and she goes, "Help!" And I was like, "Oh my God," and I pushed Dan to go help, and I pulled my phone out and called 911.
Dan and Jenny Suiters and their nearly 2-year-old daughter were vacationing in Hollandale Beach, Florida, and visiting family for a little time off before the holidays. What they didn't know was that their visit would be life-changing for this young boy in the photo who was spending his time in the pool swimming until he wasn't.
The grandma pulled him out and he was blue and not breathing and he had drowned.
Luckily, the Suiters were rushing to meet their family and pass the pool at the right place at the right time.
I was doing chest compressions, and then Jenny gave a couple rescue breaths.
I think within 2 minutes he started breathing. We saw the color kind of come back into his face, and we just kind of went into doctor mode, I guess.
What felt like a never-ending event only played out for around 10 minutes until the EMTs arrived, but for Dan and Jenny, there was no doubt that they were going to do everything they could.
Something clicked. We were all business, no nonsense. He did one thing, he told me to do the other thing. I called 911. We just kind of handled it.
The boy made a full recovery and went back to swimming the next day, but they say this is a perfect example of water safety and knowing CPR.
I will tell anybody that would listen, to whether you're a medical professional or not, go learn CPR, because you never know. Hopefully you're never in a situation like that, but I don't know that anyone else around us would have known what to do from what we gathered after the fact.
Yeah, multiple people came up to us and basically said, it's lucky you guys were there. We wouldn't have known what to do.
You never know what can happen, but thankfully, the Suiters were prepared and amazingly jumped into action.
People keep calling us heroes. I certainly don't feel like one, but we're just grateful, I guess, if we were, the universe works in mysterious ways and we were meant to walk past that moment at that time. And so it feels like a dream, but we're grateful we were able to keep
help,
a family whole that day.
Happy to help, yeah.
Well, Dan and Jenny said the young boy was swimming and playing around the hotel the very next day, and seeing that brought tears to their eyes, an emotion they couldn't explain, especially with a young daughter of their own. They said they squeezed her just a bit tighter that night because you truly never know what can happen.